Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We're so pleased to have in the studio with us today Meg Jacobsen, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for the Mesa-Spring Valley School District. How you doing, Meg?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Of course, a shout out to David Feliciano, a superintendent of the Mesa-Spring Valley. We had featured David on a recent edition of Future Pathway Superintendents Unplugged, so appreciate him coming in and all the folks you do. We'll work with and Renee Lewis, Director of Youth, Family, and Education Programs for UCSD Center for Mindfulness. How you doing, Renee?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Ben, I'll start with you. How long you been with UCSD?
Oh my gosh, since 2009.
2009. Okay, and where were you before that?
Oh gosh, I did a lot of different things. I worked for NewCo.
Okay.
So it was, I created a website actually,
Nice.
where we put together kind of like the Amazon of pool cues, believe it or not. It had nothing to do with what I'm doing now.
But that's what makes you effective now, that when you can switch and use part of that brain for doing something else.
Yeah.
What got you into, what you're doing now?
Oh my gosh, that's a fun story. I was working at UCSD doing admin work, and the Center for Mindfulness was borrowing me, or no, not borrowing me. I worked part-time with the Center for Mindfulness and part-time with the Centers for Integrative Health. And the director of the Center for Mindfulness told me, Renee, if you're going to work with me, you should really take this class. It's a mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's 2.5 hours, 1 day a week on Thursdays. And it would be in the middle of my workday. So he was being kind by putting it in the middle of my workday. I put quotes there because
Air quotes, folks.
because I was learning a new job, right? So this 2.5 hours on a Thursday, while I'm learning a new job, where I had to go sit and meditate or, pay attention to my toe, notice my thoughts. And I can honestly say that I was very frustrated when I first started taking the class, because my mind was wandering to my office, which was like 2 doors away from the meditation center, of all the work that I had to do. I was causing myself more stress sitting there thinking about everything that I had to do in my office. After about 3 weeks of taking the class and not enjoying it, mind you, I stress that. My girls, so I am a single mom. My kids were little at the time, and they after 3 weeks, they said to me, "Mama, you're so much nicer lately." And I thought, oh, what am I doing different other than the class? And they didn't know that I was taking the class. So I decided to really put my all into the class, kind of let everything else go and really be in the class. And that I finished the 8 weeks, and I really noticed how my relationship with stress changed. Stress didn't go away. It was still there, and I was holding it in a different way. And I became nicer and happier.
Yeah, listen, we were talking about that before, about the mental health of our world, which is now an epidemic proportions and has been for quite a while. Yes, COVID exacerbated it, but there was before there was COVID as well. Meg, you've always been involved in education. Obviously, as an assistant soup, you had to go through the ranks.
That's right. I started as a teacher, and then I became a principal, and then worked in the school district as an executive director. And I've been in human resources for, I think this is my 4th year in the district now, doing the human resource side of the school district.
What attracted you to that part of the business?
The human side. I love our teachers, our staff are incredible. And to be able to serve people who serve students is just such sacred work, in my opinion.
Right, and you hit the nail on the head. We are about humans. We are about relationships and so forth, and a lot of stuff going on in school districts. We know that a lot of it out of your control. How do you work with people? And this is a question I think I even asked David, your superintendent, and I think all the superintendents have been on our Future Pathways show. There's a lot of noise that going 3,000 miles to the east. But I think the educators have had a great response to that. We got a lot of stuff to do here at home, and if we get our eyes off the ball, we're not going to do it well. Talk about that.
Absolutely. I think you spoke about COVID, and you're right. Mental health issues have been there before COVID.
Right.
But if you think of like the teachers in our district during COVID, they went fully online in a moment's notice. We were not a one-to-one district with computers. Our teachers had to learn an entirely new technology and do something totally different than they've ever done for years and years. And then when we welcomed children back, not only were there academic gaps, but there were social development gaps for children as well. And we have many children who didn't have the opportunity to go to school during COVID. And so some of them are developmentally behind. And the person who is behind the scenes supporting them through all of that is their classroom teacher, their school counselors, their paraeducators, their campus attendants, their custodians. And we have focused so much on children, which is exactly the work we should be doing. But the people who care for the children, the caretakers, are really who we've been thinking about. How do we serve them? Because carrying that load over such a time can be so challenging for any human being. And I think our educators have such compassion and such heart. But what we've been really trying to get them to do is slow down and do that self-care so they can continue to care for the students we serve.
Yeah, my daughter's a fourth grade teacher in the Poway School District. And so thank you for that comment, because when the doors close for 182 days or whatever the year is, and that's just the days you're there.
Right.
We're not even counting the days you're not there in that aspect. And that is huge. We're chatting with Meg Jacobsen. She's Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for the Mesa-Spring Valley School District, joined by her colleague, Renee Lewis, Director of Youth, Family, and Education Programs for the UCSD Center for Mindfulness. Can't wait to get into that one. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to our show now for 19 years. We've been doing this, the longest running community podcast in the nation. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in the community. So, Renee, how long has the Center for Mindfulness been in business, so to speak, for UCSD?
Oh gosh, I'm going to get this wrong probably. Let's see. I would say, I'm going to say 2008.
Right. And what inspired it to start? What is its mission, its core?
So Dr. Stephen Hickman, he was a practitioner of mindfulness, and he decided he wanted to do it. He's a psychologist at UCSD, was also, I'm sure he was a professor. He was a professor. And he decided that this was something he wanted to bring, and it was his baby, so to say. And the mission is really to help people be more present, right? So we can be with whatever arises. Can we be with whatever arises in a way that is... we hold things in balance. Can we hold things in balance?
Right. Well, I think, listen, balance in this day and age in 2025, a little bit different than 2020, than difference in all this business. You folks know this better than anybody, but so geeked up when I saw this as the topic here. Because when we help, and whether it's the teachers, and of course it's all staff at Mesa-Spring Valley, classified and certificate. I want to make sure I bring that up.
Thank you.
I was a classified employee at San Diego Unified, developing curriculum, so I have a passion for the classified as well. And you have a passion for both of them. That's on right. That, Meg, I know. But for your work on this, Renee, talk about how you work with districts like La Mesa-Spring Valley.
Yeah, so I'm completely honored because La Mesa-Spring Valley is the first district that I've been working with. And it's always been since I have been a certified mindfulness teacher. Dr. Hickman actually asked me, Renee, what do you want to do with this? I said, I want to bring it to the schools.
Yeah.
I want to bring it to the teachers because I feel like, or I know that if we start with this at a younger age, and if we're taking care of our educators, we will be happier people. We will be more able to learn in an in any situation. We're more able to get something out of it. We're able to pause when we need to, so that we can proceed in a wise way. Because lots of times we just feel like we need to go, especially teachers, dealing with the things that they're dealing with. Taking that pause is so helpful. But anyways, bottom line is I'm doing this with La Mesa-Spring Valley because I have a heart for teachers and I have a heart for kids. I went to school to become a teacher, and then I started substitute teaching. And I said, heck no, I can't do this. This was before mindfulness, by the way. This is the hardest thing. This is so hard. I'm unregulated every day. I was just like, there's no way I can do this. And that's when I pivoted and I went into other things. So it was such a joy to come back to it, especially after learning about mindfulness and what it could do for me. I was like, gosh, if I would have had this years ago, I would have been a great teacher. I could have done this. And now I get to practice being with the students and feeling completely unregulated and having the ability to check in with myself. Okay, what's going on right now for you, Renee? What are you noticing? Can I get curious about what's going on here, take care of myself, and then move forward with the kids? When I'm in it with the kids, I get to be real with the teachers when I'm teaching mindfulness with the teachers, because I can say, you know what, I've been there. I was with those kids. The other day, and I was feeling it. And so, so working with La Mesa-Spring Valley has been my first go at it, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that I think is really important. Easier said than done sometime, and that's why I would ask Meg this. And you do need to save some time for yourself. Okay?
That's right.
But we all know, been in the classroom, and okay, that's all fine and dandy. But I got these papers to grade. I got this test to pay for. I got the parent involvement workshop. This is 4 more directives from the Board of Education, which 3 of them make sense, maybe. And all this, not only to base on our Board of Education, of course, they work hard as well. But, you were behind there when they closed the door, and some of those folks haven't been behind the door when you close it. How do you make space for those teachers? How do you let them know it's okay to make space for themselves?
That's a great question. I think the first is just having an open dialogue about it and being able to name that things can be hard, being able to name that we have to care for ourselves, giving each other permission and giving ourselves permission to take care of ourselves. And so we've been so grateful to work with Renee because we've been able to do that in a number of ways. One is creating time in the school day. So some schools have invited her out. One principal in particular has brought Renee out really regularly, and it's built into the teacher's collaboration time to be able to work with Renee. So it's not like they have to fit it in between classes or grading. It's time and space to do it. Renee's also offered where we come to staff meetings before or after school. So that's also built in time that the teachers would be there, and their principals are seeing the value in taking time to make space for the wellness. Renee's also been offering courses. We have courses going now in the summer. We have courses going during our spring break and our October break, because for some teachers, they're happy to do it in the middle of the day. Others, if they could just get to that break and then have time and space for a long class to be able to do the work, that is great for them. So I think we've been trying to approach it in a variety of ways, but just that we're having conversations about it. And it's not just the district, it's our union partners. Our Teachers Association is saying this. Our Classified Association leadership, CSEA, is saying this. We're saying that this is a district. And so we are all on the same page, giving the same message that we value the wellness of our employees.
Yeah, we'll come back from break. Well stated, Meg. I want to talk more about that aspect of it. And then, Renee, I want to talk about the transportation department and the mindful communication workshops you're doing. I can't wait to hear this one. Many years ago, worked with my colleague who is sitting to my right now, Wendell Bass, who was a former principal at Lincoln High School. We tried to make time back in I'm not going to date myself. There was as Brandon says, Drew, you always say there wasn't running water when you started. But I only want to bring that up as well when we talk about those different types of things. And most importantly, let's think about this, Renee and Meg. What can our listeners do to support your efforts at the Center for Mindfulness and you in the Mesa-Spring Valley when we return with our Spotlight on the Community Show interview? We are the longest running community podcast in the nation, and now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and we will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest running community podcast. Now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. Always love to have school districts and our friends at UCSD in the house. We got the Mesa-Spring Valley Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Meg Jacobsen, joined by her colleague, Renee Lewis, Director of Youth, Family, and Education Programs for UCSD Center for Mindfulness. Let me jump right over to this Transportation Department Mindful Communication Workshops. What is that all about?
It's about pausing, right? So mindful communication is so mindfulness is a practice where we learn how to pay attention on purpose in a particular way without judgment. So that's what mindfulness is. And lots of times when we're practicing mindfulness, it's all about us, right? I'm sitting, I'm practicing, I'm noticing. Mindful communication is bringing our practice out to others. So when I'm talking to you, like right now, I'm nervous. I can tell you that. I'm noticing that my heart is beating.
You may feel it, but I guarantee our audience doesn't know it.
But the thing is, I'm checking in with myself. So I know what's going on. I can pause. And in my head, I can say, and if you notice, I do this a lot, or I'll do this, right? So the listener doesn't see is that I'm touching my chest,
right,
rubbing my arm.
Right.
When I do that, I'm comforting myself. It's like self-soothing, right?
Sure.
And I call that mindful self-compassion. So I'm taking a moment to notice, oh gosh, I'm feeling a little nervous right now. So I'm naming what's going on for me, giving myself a little arm pat or arm rub. That's bringing oxytocin into my body because I'm being nice to myself. And that is actually leveling out the adrenaline and the cortisol from the nervousness that's happening in me. So in in communication, when I'm noticing what's going on with me, I can respond instead of react to what's going on there. It's really helpful in difficult situations or difficult communications. I mean, if we have to have a difficult talk with someone, pausing and really listening. Really listening. How many times do we listen to respond or to respond? Yeah, like my buddy's telling me a story about how, she's going through it. And in my head, I'm trying to figure out how to fix that for her. Or I'm saying, me too, right? Because I want to connect. But can I just be quiet and listen and allow her to say what she needs to say?
Well, I got to say right now, you hit on something that my associate producer is laughing inside because we talk about listening all the time. We are horrible listeners. We're good hearers, but we're horrible at listening. And you just gave a great example. If you're truly going to listen, all you're doing is focusing on that person. You're not thinking about the next question to ask. You're not thinking about how I'm going to help the person. You're just listening. And then what happens is, and you're the experts on this and you know this, is that when you start trying to focus on something else, you dismiss the most important thing the person said because you're working on something else. So that is spot on in that. And I think working with the educators as well. One of the things I was so impressed with when David was on our Future Pathways Superintendents Unplugged, David Feliciano, Superintendent of Mesa-Spring Valley, his whole focus was culture. And I don't have to tell you that, Meg, because you're in the middle of the culture with him. And that to him was the most important thing, was culture. Talk about that, especially in your role as human resources head.
Yeah, thank you for talking about David. It starts at the top. So
Yes, it does.
It matters that we have a superintendent who makes that a priority and talks about how it matters. We think relationships matter. We think working together matters. We think we can do more when we work together. And we think we can do more for students when we work together. And so, yes, I'm so grateful that that's David's focus. And then that's cascaded by all of our principals, our directors, and then our incredible teachers. And I spoke a little bit about even our unions, our Teachers Association and our CSEA. We all have a shared interest in a healthy culture. And healthy doesn't mean that things are perfect, because things are not perfect. It is hard. Being an educator right now is hard. But it's coming to the table and supporting each other, hearing each other, making space for each other. And I think the investment in having UCSD and Renee involved in our schools speaks to that. Are we walking the talk? We talk about culture, but do we mean it with what our actions are and where we spend our time and our energy?
Some of the things that that I took away from when I was at the San Diego Union Tribune, and our CEO was on top. We changed the culture from one that I thought needed a lot of improvement to something that improved a lot, and I really started at the top. It was something he said, we're going to be doing this, and he was going to make sure it happened because he did it. Because as soon as you hear someone say, we're going to do X, and they don't do it, right, all trust goes out. We all know everything in life is tied to trust and that aspect of it. So I think that's great what you're doing on this. And some districts do a good job in it, and some districts can probably improve a little bit on that. And you guys are really much poster children for doing this, and really applaud you. I know you got involvement with a lot of neuroscience is important to you folks, Meg. That's a whole new podcast that we're going to chat about, working with some friends at USD Souls in that area. We'll definitely do that. But what I love also, Renee Lewis, and again, chatting with her. Renee is the Director of Youth, Family, and Education Programs for UCSD Center for Mindfulness. Meg is the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for the Mesa-Spring Valley School District. It's something we talk about, but maybe not execute as much. And you working with parents. And we know the parent is the kid's first teacher. Parent is going to be the kid's lifelong teacher. Talk about how important it is to get parents involved in this.
How our kids are today. And how can we show them how to take care of themselves? And if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't show our kids. So working with the parents is of utmost importance. And it's fun. It's fun. The kids and the parents, you don't have to say we're doing mindfulness. You could play games. It's all about connecting and being present. That's it.
Well, and you gave a great example of how you handled some of your anxiety, whether you tapping your chest or your arm and all that business, and that is your method. Maybe somebody else's method is doing something different, then that's fine. But you just gave the tools, at least for yourself, in this area. And I know, Meg, that is something that's real critical. And I think when you take a step back and you say, okay, what is going to be my anxiety reliever aspect of it? Is it going to be turn on some tunes, whatever the case may be, or, who knows, play hopscotch if you're doing that at an old age, and who knows. I haven't done hopscotch for like 4,000 years, for that matter. Meg, let me ask you this, and we'll pivot over to you too on this, Renee. What can our listeners do to support what you're doing at your school, especially in the realm of mindfulness and in human resources?
Well, I think certainly if any of our staff members listen, I hope that they take advantage and engage in the work with Renee. Like you said, there's a million things that every educator is doing every day. So to make time and space is hard. But we really do honor the culture and encourage staff to participate. We've had a lot of staff who've participated, and as this has gone on and other folks see other teachers, custodians, paraprofessionals doing this with success, our number of participants continues to grow. But we hope that our staff feels interested, excited, and encouraged to participate. And then the other piece would probably be the community piece. Renee's been working a lot with parents. That's something that's kind of started to flourish toward the end of the year. And I have 3 small children myself, and you're right, parents are stressed, Renee. And so for parents to be able to have time and space, even Renee hosts Zooms for parents, even for short amounts of time. Even if you can make 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we are better parents, better employees when we make time and space to breathe, which sounds so silly, but is so simple and important. And if we don't make time and space to do it, we're no good to ourselves or those who we care for.
Just a quick story. You're so spot on that, because no one's going to do it for you if you don't do it for yourself.
Right.
We were doing some training when I was at the Union Tribune, Steve Covey training, which I think was really, really good, and it was much needed with some of the folks there. But I mean, one of the episodes was on making time for yourself, which we're talking about. And I actually did it. It actually worked. And he said, however you do it, it's fine. He said, but one of the things is this is a whole thing for senior managers that was in this Covey training, but you feel like you're obligated. You got to be doing things 724, 365. Not healthy. Don't do that. Block off some time in the day as if you're in a meeting with the CEO. You're not. You're with your own self. You're the CEO. And so I started doing that. I blocked off 3 hours every Friday, I think is the one I did, so, and don't let anything intrude in that time. Pretend you're in Timbuktu, you're not around, and it actually worked.
Right.
It actually worked. And then when people tried to set up meetings in that time frame, I was not available. Obviously, if it was an emergency, I had to make myself available. Of course, that's how it works. So, Renee, how do we support you? How do our listeners support the great work you're doing?
Check out the Center for Mindfulness website. We offer so many different classes. I would say check out the website. If it's something you're interested in, take a class. If you have questions, send me an email. My email is on there. Just check us out.
That sounds good. Well, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. This won't be the last one because we cannot talk about mental health enough. We can't talk about how we can support what the clients are, whether it's parents, whether it's students, whether it's teachers, and everything. So I think that's great. Meg Jacobsen, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for the Mesa-Spring Valley School District, and Renee Lewis, Director of Youth, Family, and Education Programs for UCSD Center for Mindfulness. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and we hope you come back sooner than later.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
My pleasure. And for our listeners, thanks for listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. Now in our 19th year, brought to you by the cool people at Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things for those living in San Diego County. And we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.